Good morning, friends. Today we are going to be having our best autumnal live. We're gonna do a lot of fun things and we're welcoming the beginning of autumn. On the day that I'm recording this, it is actually the start of autumn, the official start of autumn. I know I started in my head many weeks ago, but it's officially here and I want to celebrate, and I want to celebrate with you guys. So of course, as we start any day here in this house, we're gonna make some coffee. I want to try to make pumpkin cold foam. Unfortunately, we aren't able to get some Starbucks this morning, but we are going to make our own. I think we just need a couple of ingredients, maybe 3 ingredients at most, so let's make it together. So I'm thinking that all we need here is a plant-based milk, some pumpkin puree, and then a tiny bit of sweetener. So I literally have that. I have the pumpkin puree here. This is just the one that I always find at grocery stores most commonly. I have some unsweetened soy milk. I'm pretty sure oat milk would have been better because it's a little bit more creamier. But then I also have this sugar-free vanilla syrup. I also have this little thing right here. This is a milk frother. So it's all in here. Wow, this looks really good. Oh my gosh. Okay, this looks so good. Okay, I made a little bit of a spill. Not the most aesthetic thing, unfortunately, but we have our coffee here. Oh my gosh, it smells really good. Cheers to autumn. Wow. That's really good. Well, cheers to the start of a very autumnal and fun vlog. I'm gonna have a maple leaf cookie. I just sat down for a little bit. I opened up the back door, as you saw, and just really enjoyed the sounds of nature. It's something that I was really craving back in New York. I'm really trying to enjoy that today, especially. I can literally hear like hundreds of birds outside, which is really nice. And I decided to get started on my autumn bucket list. So I always do a seasonal bucket list. I do this for all of the seasons, but most importantly during autumn time. I wrote a few things down that were just at the top of my head. I want every single autumn in my life to be memorable in some sort of way. This year I'm gonna try to really make things super memorable, especially because I'm gonna be in a house for the first time, in a new state for the first time. So I'm very excited. So let me share a couple of things that I've got on my list. My list is super ugly. I'll make it a lot prettier and I'll probably put it in my Notion account. If I do end up putting it in my Notion account, I'll leave a template in the description box so that you can create your own. Right now I've got pumpkin picking, visiting a corn maze, visiting a farmer's market. This one I've been meaning to do all summer long, but I haven't, so I'm gonna push myself to do it this season. Definitely do a nature walk. Pumpkin carving, of course, make some autumnal treats and also snack on them. I really want to get a fire pit for the backyard. Horror movie marathon. You know I cannot go a season without that. Backyard picnic. I mean, come on, I have a backyard now. I can totally do picnics back there. And do some local shopping. What better time to explore the area than autumn time? As you know, I'm probably gonna add like triple the amount of things to this list. I do recommend you try doing an autumn bucket list for yourself. Like I said, if I do this on Notion, I'll put a template in the description box and you can fill it out with whatever works best for you. This is so exciting to me and I've been doing this since I was a teenager. I've always done an autumn bucket list. So yeah, highly recommend. It really gets you into the autumnal spirit and just enjoying the seasons for what it is, especially if you kind of have a hard time with cooler seasons. Okay, so we've made it to the point in the vlog where I think some of you are going to be excited to see. If you didn't know, on my Instagram account, it was originally a Bookstagram account. So I used to just talk about books all day long. And my photos are still very centered around books, but it's not a Bookstagram account anymore per se. But I know you guys are interested in seeing what I read and all of that good stuff, which I'm really glad because that really motivates me to read more, which sometimes I get into serious slumps. We're going to go into my bookshelves right now and pick a few autumnal reads that I think are going to be perfect for this time of year And if you didn't know, I have 2 bookshelves and one shelf is entirely dedicated to spooky reads. So it's full of autumn stuff. So let's go look at that shelf and see what we can find. Okay, starting from the top, I have some repeat authors here. I've got Stephen King, Stephen Graham Jones, and Chuck Palahniuk. So I think I'm going to grab some from the top. Okay, down to the second shelf, we've just got some more spooky stuff. Got some other spooky stuff here. This shelf isn't really completely full of really creepy stuff, just a slight bit lighter reads. Down at the bottom is my true crime stuff, so let me see if I'm gonna... I have a huge stack of books here that I selected, and obviously I'm just gonna pick one right now, but these are the ones that stood out to me when I went browsing, so let me show you what I selected. So I have some repeat authors that I tend to always purchase from. One of those authors is Ruth Ware. I have One by One, and I got the advanced readers edition of this because I partner with Gallery Books, and they sent this to me for free so that I can give it a read and, you know, share it with you guys. And I didn't read this when I first received it, but I feel like, just looking from the cover, that it's going to be very wintry. It's probably not going to be my next read, but it will definitely be a read for the winter. So I've already made my decision right there on camera. Perfect. By the way, let me know if you've read any of the books that I'm about to show you and what you think of them, or if you're interested in hearing about any of the books that I'm about to show you. But let's keep going. I have another repeat author. It's Stephen Graham Jones. I love him. His work is so fun and spooky and just fantastic. And this one is called Mapping the Interior. It's a novella, that's why it's so tiny. I just finished reading a novella by him called The Night of the Mannequins, and that one was super fun. It was a perfect horror read for the summertime. It just had like a lot of summery nostalgia, but yeah, this is another novella. It looks creepier and less funny than The Night of the Mannequins, so this one looks really good. Definitely on the higher end of my list here. Another repeat author I have is Gillian Flynn. Huge fan of Gillian Flynn. I've read her other 2 very popular books, but I know her most popular book is Gone Girl, and I've never read it. So this is also really high on my list. I definitely want to eventually read Gone Girl because she's a repeat author for me, but I've never read Gone Girl. And then my last repeat author, that is Stephen King, and I picked the biggest, the biggest book that I could possibly find on my shelf, I think, at this moment. It is It by Stephen King. Huge fan of the series back in the 90s, huge fan of the movies that just came out, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see actually, and I apologize for anybody who finds that to be offensive, the dog ears. I have started this book. I started it, I think, 2 years ago as a buddy read with a friend of mine, and she eventually finished it, but I did not, and I really want to finish this book. It would be a huge accomplishment for me personally to read a book of this size. I've never read a book this size before, and I'm just a gigantic fan of it. I love it so much. Look, there's a bookmark in here. I will link the Etsy shop where I got this bookmark from, but as you can see, it's just got a bunch of Jason's on it and then Jason's mom. And it looks like I was on page 270. So you would think that's a huge dent, but I'm letting you know it's not. Actually, this is also a repeat author now that I think about it. Shirley Jackson. I read The Haunting of Hill House, and that book was one of the best books I've ever read. And We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Now, if you've been around for long enough, you'll know that I started this book a year ago back in my getaway trip, and I never finished it. I never picked it up after that getaway trip. I was in a serious slump at the time, and that slump led into this year all the way through to the summer. So I was in a serious slump. I'm not going to blame it on this book because this book was going really well. It was just a lot of personal things going on at the time. So I want to finish this. All my friends say that this is such a fantastic book. It's their favorite Shirley Jackson book. So that means a lot to me, especially because I thought Hill House was phenomenal. So I'm assuming that this is going to be just as great or even better. Not a repeat author, but I do work for the publishing house that published this book. It is by Becky Cooper. We Keep the Dead Close. I've heard mixed reviews about this book. but it's a true crime book. It's not fiction. And the topic of this book is about a girl who was murdered in college. She was murdered at Harvard University, and I believe her body was found in the anthropology department of the university. So that was extremely fascinating to me, and I think this book is going to follow the story behind that. Now, I've heard mixed reviews because I've heard that the author puts herself too much into the narrative. It's not something that I'm as excited for as I once was when I purchased this book. And yes, I did purchase it even though I work for the publishing house. I do want to read it, and I am fascinated about the case because it just sounds really, really interesting. Fun fact, I almost minored in anthropology, so it kind of hit close to me a little bit. Those are the ones that are on my impulse picks here. Let me know in the comments what you think I should go with, and we'll see if I go with the one that you decide on.